Well, good morning from the ridge.
Good morning.
We found the only shady spot we could.
Yeah.
Well, not the only, but the one that's convenient for us.
The most convenient.
Yeah. So how's everyone doing?
Been a minute.
It's been, quite a few days, but are y'all holding in there okay? Or up north, you guys are hotter than we are, and it's hot. But I think we have more humidity down here.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on where you're at, and I don't know. Everybody's got the same weather issues, right? So we're not gonna dwell on that very often.
No, because we're still getting out there. We're still working.
Yeah.
We try to make good use of our times in the morning before it gets brutal. We just finished chores.
Yeah.
And now, well, the normal chores. So today is pruning day for the tomatoes again, and treating for the blight again, which is working. It's not completely gone. It never completely got hold because I caught it really, really early and I've been treating it. And I have a little bit of harvest. I harvested pretty heavy yesterday. So I'm not anticipating a huge harvest this morning. But no, we've been working.
Yeah, obviously no rain, so it lets us be outside a little more, but that makes chores a little longer because we still don't have the irrigation up to where we can just turn the dial and let her run. But
I think that's the challenge, yes, we love to build, and yes, we want to be building, but at the same time we're an active homestead, so we have animals, we have rabbits, we have the goats, we have
conversations that create a whole lot more work and craziness.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so but yesterday was a good day. I think we might cover that stuff in a video that's coming out today.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, our main channel over at White Rock Homestead, we're actually, when we get done with this, we'll get this thrown out, and then we're gonna do some filming. It's gonna be like day of filming, guys.
Yeah.
We've got some other stuff in the books, but we're kind of holding on to that right at the moment.
Yeah.
So
because the thing is, like, I don't want to put out a video just to put out a video, right? I don't want to just put out a mediocre video where we only get a very, very little accomplished, even though for us it's hours, right? But in the actual terms of a video, it would be extremely short, or I'd have to add fluff, which I try to cut out all the fluff. And I know you guys appreciate that. So rather than put out a mediocre build video, we're gonna attack, because we can't build today. We have way too much homesteading stuff to do. And we are a homesteading channel. Yeah,
and that's the toss-up, I mean, it's doing this in the South, right? I mean, you got to work with the weather. You've got to be able to get up in the morning, but also you've got to take your days where, hey, you can build for a couple days, and then you need to do the garden, because I mean, when you're gardening, that's a full-time job in itself.
It's not a plant and forget it.
Especially active. To the scale that we do it at.
Yeah.
But it's flourishing and it's awesome. And, we're every single day we talk about at least once or twice throughout the day of how grateful we are.
Uh-oh, someone's woke up.
Having groceries right here. Get down. You don't need to be up here.
She says, but Grandpa, I haven't seen you all night.
Oh, I know. Oh, okay. You're a big bully. You're a big bully. All right, go potty. Go. She has to come down and get her rubs.
I know. Good morning. Good morning. It's bug spray in the rabbits, honey. I haven't been cheating on you. You're good now? Go potty.
Yeah. So now she'll go do her rounds, and
she'll check on all the animals.
But yeah, so you've got to find that. I don't even really want to call it a balance, right? Because when you think of balance, you're thinking of scales that are like even.
No.
But it's not. That scale is constantly moving and tipping one side or the other, because you have to.
If you're paying attention to one thing, the other thing goes to the wayside.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
And so a lot of it is we try to be as proactive as we can.
We're not sit around people.
But there's also the reactive things that you have to deal with, and like I said, I don't know. Do we fill them in on our conversation that we had this morning?
Oh gosh.
Okay,
guys. So
we're really biting into it on that one.
If you guys have been with us for any length of time, you know that our brains go everywhere, right? Both of us were born with the gene that says we have no fear of failure. So everything's possible. And y'all have been here with us, and you know that we have struggled with the build site, right? We cleared land. We had all these grand plans to build on the other side of the property. But then our longevity thinking starts coming into play. And it's like, okay, we're not young pups, right? We have to forward think about our later years and what it looks like for like Jake and Jenna. And, clearly we have 7 kids, not just the 2 that are here on the ridge. And so it would be smarter to put Jake and Jenna over on the other side of the property for their builds. Because in the event of, and it will happen, none of us are here forever, guys, right? It would be easily divisible to put them over there and then section that off survey-wise for them, because they're putting their own money into their builds, right? And that's something that is theirs. That's their ownership. And so we have changed plans as far as where Jake and Jenna are going to go. Because if you remember the last time, Jake was going to go where the squatch is in the nugget nest, and Jenna was going to go up by where the cougar is sitting, where she's at currently right now. That's all changed again.
It's so fun. So Ryan and Jess came by last night and hung out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And they know, right? They already know. They're like, okay, so it's been 5 minutes. Where's this, that, or the other thing going? Because that is, and we've talked about it. I swear by it, and I'll keep repeating, the hardest struggle that we have, and I think most anybody that's starting from raw land, is where to put things so that they're the most efficient and effective, and you get the most longevity. And that's our struggle, because, and I think for us, it adds the element of the terrain. Yeah. The terrain speaks a lot as to where and how and all that kind of stuff. We've talked about that, or if we haven't, I called the power company when we were curious about, how far will they run power on the back of the property, or, at the property, and what does that cost look like, if we wanted to move things around? Because obviously, even for Jake and Jenna, like, even before we said, hey, we're going to put them over at the build site on the other side, we were talking about going over there, and that was going to involve putting in a new pole so that we could have separated power over there and not trying to trench all this distance, right? Well, we found out that they will put power as long as we have
800 square foot.
Yeah, for our area, it's 800 square foot residence living space. Then they'll run power up to a quarter mile, which means
that opened up a big can of
worms.
Right,
like that,
which we talked about. So
our eyes and brains went, we could go by the creek, but right, that's, and we've talked about the road. So that's another factor into a lot of the decisions that we make and why we put things where we've put them. And even, every day almost, we talk about moving something, only because we knew, I think at this point, there's only a couple things on the whole property that
are going to be permanent,
out of discussion, like the sawmill site, right? That's a total out of discussion as to where, like, relocating it. Could it be done? Absolutely. Are we going to do that?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
And so forward thinking of the permanence of things, And so we went down a rabbit hole, guys, and I want to share it with you. I don't know if she's willing, but I'm going to tell you what our conversations
It's not
were.
me spilling the beans because I was not gonna go there.
I'm gonna. I think
I was going more towards the whole concept of as we are evolving down, here, like one of the things
Right.
that we knew we wanted to be away from the rest of the, have the family compound, but be away, isolated from everybody. And we thought in our brains that meant us going elsewhere, right, on the property. And then it dawned on us the one day, like we just said, that, well, no, we're building everything here and we're loving it. We hope you love it too. Move them and give them a better opportunity to secure their financial investment to where it's theirs, right? And so then that led us down this rabbit hole that he's gonna go into.
yeah. And
I can't believe he's doing this.
like she said, is we've looked and looked and looked over the property, and as of right now, out back on the back side of the property is, for now, out of the question.
Yes.
We
don't have a
for
right.
any kind of a permanent residence. Now, that's not to say we're still have plans and intentions that we're going to build some cabins back there to minimum.
Yes.
But the location where the tiny house is amazing. It really is.
The views.
And we love the tiny house,
love
like
it.
what it's evolved into. Now, for those of you that have been with us from the beginning, you know that we didn't intend
No.
to live in the tiny house. It's evolved, hence why there's all kinds of additions to it, right? It's been an evolving process. It was gonna be the original area, for those of you who don't know, the original where the living room is now and where our bedroom loft is, that was the original shack that was here, 12 by 12 shack. So
Built on rocks.
yeah,
Not
like,
even posts or foundation.
right.
Rocks
So,
stacked up. And it was supposed to be Jake's.
Right. We were going to put Jake in it. And so we had added a bathroom that are on deck blocks. They're not even cemented in. They're
No.
just sitting on the ground. And we were like, hey, that'll be good. That gets Jake his own space for a little while till, and of course this was early on. This was like 3 years ago, guys, 2.5.
Yeah.
And so, of course, for those of you who know, Mama started looking at it and went, oh, sorry, Jake, this is ours. So we made the modifications to the tiny house, and we love it. Now, we've discovered, right? We've talked about this in other videos. It's not a good entertainment space.
But it's also not a good retirement space.
Right.
And we need to look at what's best for us as we age.
And our thing with, you guys are following along on the main channel. If not, you should be. Is that's where the outdoor kitchen area comes in, right? All right, that gives us a space that, one, we can do food preservation, but two, we can entertain our guests, our friends, family, all that kind of stuff, and multiple of them, right? Not just, hey, we got to restrict it to 1 or 2 couples. And
I still can't believe he's spilling the beans.
so we sat here this morning having our initial cups of coffee right before we did chores.
Being bit by
And
flies.
we're just kind of looking, and we're like, okay, we've kind of gone over it with you guys, right? Expanding the tiny house even more.
Adding a mud room. Dining
taking
room.
the back deck and creating it into a dining room. Going off of that and creating a big master suite.
Well,
But-
explain what kind of started.
So I'm getting there. That's
Okay.
what's next. So a while back, we had to rip out the vanity in the bathroom because the wall was wet and the floor was wet. And we're like, where is this water coming from? Well, come to find out, a connection inside the wall had failed. Not the crimp connection, but the actual fitting where you thread the faucets into. It had failed and it was leaking inside the wall. And we cut the edge of the linoleum, pulled it back, got everything dried out, fixed that connection. All was good.
Or so we
thought.
And I've been feeling it a while.
Yeah. So we're discovering that for some reason, and
Somewhere.
there's a weak spot in the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be, because one, it's only 2 years old, 3 years old. And
it's in a spot that doesn't have direct contact with water, which in my brain tells me that somewhere we have a leak and it's getting under
and it's going
the linoleum.
over there, yeah. And so upon discussion of that, we go, well, what does that look like then, right? Clearly, the best, most logical answer is gut the bathroom, and not to down to the studs necessarily, but gut it, right? We need to pull the shower out because we need to get underneath it. That means pulling the vanity, getting that flooring out, getting new flooring in. And then, first and foremost, really, as part of that process is identifying where's that water coming from?
Yeah.
Is it coming from the drain of the shower? Is it a water line underneath the house that we don't know that has a small leak?
And is it going to open, you know how every construction project opens a can of worms.
Right. And so in going down that rabbit hole of, because now that we've been in it and we're living in it, right? There's things that we talk about almost daily that, man, we need to, we need to do this, or we need to do that. How do we tie
in the roof lines for the additions?
And right. So right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 different roofs coming off the tiny house, right?
And it's only on a 12 by 24
base platform. Yeah. and so
5 different roofs.
That's excessive. But it was one of those that we went with what we had, and at the time it works great. We said from the get-go that we wanted a 1-floor house. Mm-hmm. A loft and upstairs, all of that kind of stuff was totally out of the question, because our concept of aging in place. Well, we're not, right? Our bedroom is upstairs.
Mornings are rough for both of us coming downstairs.
And now we have the bathroom issue. And there's other things like we've tested our water from the well, right? Perfect water, but it has hardness.
Very hard.
And we don't have a water softener.
Because we don't have room.
And we started looking, well, what does that look like to do a water softener? Well, when we upgraded the well, in the well house, I put this ginormous pressure tank in preparation for future connections, right? It'll run up to like 86 faucets or something like that. Like I went with almost the very biggest that I could get off the shelf. So now there's not room in the well house for
a water
softener. There's no room in the tiny house for a water softener. Where we put the hot water heater in the tiny house behind the shower, which initially was a great plan if it could have went straight back on that wall, because then you can see the front of it, you can do the maintenance to it. No, now it's facing the shower, so I have like this much room to do any kind of work in there with it. And just to add a little bit more on the backstory, right, is I messed up on the plumbing, guys. I messed up big time. And I realized that after I'd done it, but we were already in it, and I said, it'll be fine. It's not fine. The water lines.
So we have 1-inch line, 1-inch poly coming all the way down to the house. That's perfect, right? No problem there. But what I messed up on doing, and reminder, we're not professionals. We're not licensed in any of this stuff. Is I reduced it down as soon as it came into the house with adapters right down to 1/2 inch. And so it runs 1/2 inch line to everything in the house. Well, a lot of you are like, well, wait a minute. Isn't it 1/2 inch line? Or some of you don't even know, right? Isn't that what goes to my sink faucet? Isn't that? Yes, it is. But that supply going from your main over and even into the hot water heater, everything should be at least a 3/4, right? And then you break it down coming off that 3/4, like when you imagine a line, right? Here it is, a 3/4 line. And then I'm going to tee it off to go up to my faucet. At that tee, I can reduce it down to 1/2 inch. And then you're going to get a lot of pressure. Initially, pressure wasn't an issue. But now it seems, and I think it's probably a collection of the hardness building up and restricting water flow and that kind of stuff. So that put us down a hole of, well, I need to rip out all that existing plumbing, at least, because everything comes down and it's all under the house. It's for the most part, it's easily accessible. And I did it on purpose, but it runs through the floor joists. That was kind of an on-purpose thing, but my follow-up to why I did it that way is probably not going to happen, because it's not really needed. And so then I'm like, okay, well, we need to cut the water lines, right? I need to run 3/4, supply everything. But then where do we put the water softener? How do we...
So here's the bean spill, and I know I've been jabbering and keeping you guys...
I know, plumbing, I'm like Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah,
so,
wah, wah.
We're crazy, y'all. And you never know what the heck's going to happen around here. And know that if this does happen, and it's got a pretty high likelihood, this will happen after the shop is up.
Yes, because we'll need the shop to make this happen.
Yes, we will definitely need the shop for this.
It's big, guys. Like, it's so ridiculous that it's possible.
It is.
I can't believe he's spilling the beans. Like,
so
yeah.
the tiny house is going away. It's getting tore down. All the materials are salvageable. We
went down the list this morning of, because the other thing too is when we put the windows in, like I said, this was not supposed to be a permanent home, so it's single pane shed windows.
Yeah, they're
not
literally
even
shed windows. They're not.
Or...
The only thing, there's only two, the back sliding glass door and our front door are the only.
Well, the loft.
Nope.
Transom ones are.
No, they're not.
Oh.
Nope. They're all the windows
are shed windows. So you know what? We're harvesting those. Those will be kept for a future project.
Yeah.
The siding will be keeping, those are 4x8 sheets of treated plywood. We'll be keeping those. We went through the whole list, what we would actually be losing by doing a full-on teardown, right? Because we'll be harvesting everything. The only things that we will actually be physically losing are the kitchen wall tiles.
Yep.
Because that muscle bound, it works. They ain't coming off.
Right.
And I ain't chipping off a bunch of grout.
No.
So we're going to lose that. And we're going to lose the drywall.
Yeah.
That's it. And who's to say we might not try? Because if I can peel the corner where I put the tape on, I can just rip that mesh tape and expose all of my screws. Would I use it in the new house? No. Would I use it in a bathhouse? Sure, why not? So we plan on harvesting everything. Trim, flooring.
All the wiring.
Lighting. Outlets.
Yeah.
Like,
because kind of starting it off, like we said, is that original structure is sitting on rocks stacked on one another.
Yes.
And the bathroom is on deck blocks. Now, when we did all of the decking, when we did the kitchen addition, when we added the laundry room and pantry on, all of those posts are cemented in the ground. So we're not getting any heaving, we're not getting anything. And it's minute that it hasn't, I don't even think I've seen any cracks. Maybe one up in the loft where the drywall was cracking at a seam. But other than that, guys, I mean, everything is held up really, really well. But it is not a perfect situation for a forever home. And we've talked about it, right? Like going to the build site, that was the thing, was like, hey, do we just build a whole nother house?
And then what do we do with this? We talked about Airbnb, and we're like, man, like, do we want someone here in our sanctuary, in our kingdom, like in our space?
Yeah.
No, we really don't. Well, could we handle someone else living in it?
No.
Say we put Jake or Jenna in it, or Swami. No. Like, because we're too emotionally invested in our hard work.
Yeah.
Could we clear more spots to give us the views like we have from the tiny house? Possibly. But we love the YouTube studio. We love the location. We love the look of it. We love what we're doing with the outdoor kitchen. We love the garden. Like, this is our place. This is our place.
Yeah.
And is it going to be extra work? Yes. Where are we going to live in the meantime, guys, when we're having to move out of the tiny house?
A tent down by the creek.
I wish, but he's too bougie.
Yeah, no.
We're going back to living in the Squatch.
Yep.
Which I don't mind. I love the Squatch. We talked about selling the Squatch and going back to a travel trailer, which still isn't completely... Who knows, guys? RV. We're going to be in an RV. For how long? We don't know. But we've known from the time we got here on the ridge, we want to build our dream home.
Yeah.
We just didn't anticipate having it be in the location that the tiny house is. We've gone down every rabbit hole possible on how to add to the tiny house. Roof lines are killing us. And
it is, because it's hard to tie it in and not make it feel like a cave.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we kind of can go out where the bathroom and that does on the back side of the house. We can expand out that way quite a ways.
But there's no way to tie in the roof line.
But right, the roof lines become an issue, and it makes more sense, like, because like she said, and we even talked about it, was like, hey, if we add on here, add on there, do this, do that, right, then the loft becomes either a guest bedroom or we turn it into a crafting area. What really is going to happen is it's going to be where the cobwebs and the dust all go. And it just doesn't make sense. That's more square footage that is heated and cooled and have to be cleaned. And we want
everything under one floor.
Right, we want it on one floor and more open concept.
You
know,
it's not going to be gigantuous.
No. I mean, it'll probably be twice the size of what the tiny house is, but that's because we'll actually be able to open up to have a sitting living room area. We'll be able to have a kitchen that when people come and she's working in the kitchen in the house, and we're not in the outdoor kitchen,
we can be still
that we can still entertain, and somebody's, you know, you got a place to sit.
And when all of our kids come, we're not having to sit on stair steps, stools. And you have to ask people to move to get around.
Right.
That's not conducive to the lifestyle we want, and we want to provide for everybody. But I still can't believe he spilled those beans. Like,
well, and
I
think it needed to be, because we've talked about it in other videos of, hey, we want to, and here's why I think that this is going to be the best plan, because in the long run, it's saving us money, because we were about to add a mudroom on, and then we were going to close in the back porch and make it a dining room, and, you know, talking about putting a mat. So we were going to keep adding on to it, which is going to take our time and money, you know, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, instead of adding on and trying to modify what's already there, we have the option. And like she said, yes, is it more work that we have to tear things apart? Here's the other good thing about it, guys. We built the tiny house before I decided to start buying ring shank nails. And for any of you that have tore stuff apart, that's going to make this a whole lot easier, because they're all smooth shank nails. They're going to pull right out. And so we shouldn't have a whole lot of loss. Yes, there's still going to be some scrap, but guys, we're always building something, right? Like, rabbit cages,
it's all going to be
animal shelters, and so nothing's really, like she said, the drywall and the tile out of the kitchen.
All the trim will be saved.
Like, we still have the appliances. I think that we will probably come up with a better countertop.
I was just thinking about that earlier. Like, I would love to build our own butcher block, the butcher block way. You know, we don't know. Like, literally, guys, these beans are only a couple hours old. Like, it's not even mold in our brain. I'm surprised. But that we will be reusing, and I'm sure I'll have more cabinets, which will be used also. Like we're still going to build it on the same concept of reuse, purchase, thrifting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not that we're tearing it down to build a big mansion, but we need to have a more functional layout, right?
Fluid space.
Square footage wise, this really works. It's just the layout is what is not conducive, especially as we get older and mobility becomes a little more limited. We've got to keep in mind of that, because we don't want to age out of our own home. So, but yeah, with that, guys, we've got to get some work done yet today and get some stuff filmed, so you guys get a video on the main channel too. We're gonna double tap you today. You get this one today,
and you guys are getting it before the main channel. Like, but we do that often if you're new here. I'm excited for it, and the one thing that I'm excited for is our techniques are honed a little bit more to the terrain now. We know how we want to do things. And actually, I think what has helped to make this decision to tear down the tiny house is Jason and I building this, the outdoor kitchen. It was a momentous task, and I think both of us were a little bit intimidated at first. But when we rocked it out, that confidence that, oh my gosh, we can pull square, and it's not even an eighth out, and everything's square, everything's plumb. I think building that has given us the confidence to be like, you know what, we can do this. Not that we ever lacked it.
Yeah, I mean, we've done really great, even with the tiny house and all the additions, and you know, that original structure, like I said, where the living room and loft is, none of that is square. We made a match, and we hid the gaps, and
you can't rattle, yeah. But anyway, that's the big beans filling. I just can't believe he went there, but it wasn't me for a change, guys. It was him.
I had to.
He's talked about it a lot. But anyway, I'm sure you guys are going to get more information at a later time. This one's long enough, guys. Thank you for staying with us through the whole bean spilling and the Charlie Brown stuff. I guess if you're a guy, you'll enjoy it. If you're like me, you'll be like, wah. Please don't click out of that. But all right, we will talk to y'all later.
See you guys.
Peace out.